Hello, everyone. My name is Dharm Sidhu. I'm from Vancouver. I am trained as a naturopathy doctor from a school in Vancouver, Canada. And I have always been drawn to the field of intuition. I've been drawn to it since I was 25 years old. And I started to be guided to discover more about intuition and teach intuition since I was 30 years old. So that's been 20 years. Not giving my age away, am I? So welcome to this video where I am sharing everything I've learned about intuition in my journey. So I don't think I have particularly any spectacularly intuitive gift. I've probably kind of like an average level intuition. You know, when you look back and realize you always did have a little bit of some kind of sensitivity. And it has been very painstakingly developed over time to where it is at now. And as I always had in mind that I was someday going to teach about intuition, I've kept in mind the processes in which intuition is developed. I've also been teaching it for 20 years and have many enjoyable workshops where we could all learn together about how to develop intuition and how to know and trust it. So I would say that intuition is very personal for each of us. And the more we connect to our personal reason for intuition, the more we will enhance that connection. And I feel that intuition is an ability, a way that most of us should have. I believe everyone should have intuition, do have intuitive abilities, and that it is for an ability to connect to truth. Truth from your higher selves, truth from your own wisdom, truth from our spirit guides, truth from God, however you wish to convey that relationship. And it's always driven by our true desire, not by what we think we want to know, but what's really coming out of our soul emotionally. And it's also driven by questions. So that's some of the key thing I have found in developing intuition is that it's always about the question you ask. And the question you ask is always driven by the emotional desire driving it. And if you're desiring to know truth about an issue, then you will have very good experiences in receiving answers. And some of the, I would say, stumbling block I've had along the way for myself is that I was very blocked to unpleasant emotions. I was very blocked to fear, to anger, to shame, to grief. So anytime I ask a question that would potentially trigger those emotions, because I don't want to feel it, that's me having a desire. I don't want to feel emotions. And that will block my access to receiving truth about those questions. So you will get blocked. And sometimes if you have a desire that you just want happy feelings, you just want happy answers, then you're actually not even receiving truth in that moment. You're just receiving information from other influences around you in order to help you avoid truth, which is emotional and can be triggering emotion that you don't want to feel. So, for example, if you're having some difficulties, say in a relationship, and you are desiring to know, what do I do here? Do I leave? Do I stay? How do I resolve the relationship? How do I become more loving? How do I know what to believe? Now, if you're desiring truth about it, you may receive answers that are challenging. And I believe that the purest form of intuition is a type of emotion. It's an emotion that gets received, and then depending on how open we are to the emotion, we receive it as impression, as memories, as visions, as thoughts. If we're blocked in a certain way for certain questions, then it will kind of translate into a form that you're able to receive. And sometimes when you ask a question, you just got to walk away and let it kind of drop to you later on, in hours, in days, in weeks, maybe through a book, maybe through a song, through a conversation, a TV show you put on, a dream you have. So my encouragement with intuition is always ask questions that are driven by very strong desires. And if you ask to resolve the cause of an issue, say you're saying in relationship, you're having difficulties and you want to resolve the cause of the difficulty so that your relationship can be a lot more harmonious, then asking for the cause is asking for the truth about a situation. You will receive an answer. Basically, the universe loves it when you ask for truth and when you ask to resolve the cause of a situation, in which you will be given your portion of the accountability and responsibility that you need to resolve, which usually requires you connecting to emotions. So those can be some of our blocks to receiving intuition. And I also find, depending on the question you ask, there's no particular orientation. For example, I don't identify myself as clairaudient or clairvisual or clairvoyance, or I don't know, there are probably 20 other types by now. I don't identify myself that way at all. I was always guided right from the beginning when I teach to stay open with each question to allow the answer to come true. So for example, in a workshop, we may use the chakras as a way of streamlining the process of learning how to receive answers. And with each question you ask, you receive very different impression. You may ask the same question in 2 different days and receive different form of answer. Sorry, I just saw a hummingbird out in the snow. That's a beautiful moment there, hovering outside my window. So you could not be tied up with how you think the intuition should come to you, and don't narrow yourself in a particular way of seeing things. That I only ever see visions, I only ever get feelings, I only ever hear things. It's always only a thought. I wouldn't discount any of it. And also, fears can really block our access to intuition. If you have fear, some of the fears we have around intuition is that some religious beliefs we may have absorbed from our childhood, some culturalist beliefs we may have about intuition, which to me is not magic, it's not shamanistic, even though shamanistic is a type of connection that can be very healthy and helpful for some people that are drawn to that. And I would say some other fears are, what if I'm being influenced by something else in my environment, by some other vibes in my environment, or, to be blunt, some other spirits around us that are not as wise as our spirit guides. How do you know the difference? Valid questions. And fears. What if I'm wrong? I've been doing intuitive type work in some form or another for 20 years now, and I can still be wrong, or I'm willing to be wrong. So stay open and humble to the fact that you need to be okay to be wrong, based on where you're at in your emotions and your desire for truth, as well as your sensitivity and your own development, which is infinite. You're always going to be growing. You're always going to be learning something in a couple of years that will be more advanced than what you think now. So being humble really helps in developing your intuition. And what are some of the benefits of receiving intuition? Well, what I really enjoy the most is the connection, is this feeling of inner trust, that there's somewhere I can go within myself to ask a question and receive an answer that would give me the best way to go forward in life. And it's based on what I desire to learn. So there's something very respectful about the process, that I'm the one asking and choosing to learn to get some answers, and that's what I'm guided towards. And intuition can help you to deal with dangerous situations. There are times when I would get a gentle nudge to walk away from something, from a certain area, and next thing you know, a train passed by, and like those kind of gentle. They're always very gentle. I find that the highest level of intuition that I receive has a gentleness as well as a directness about it. There's something very non-negotiable about the answer, even though there's no compelling. I don't feel compelled that I have to do what I received. If you feel those kind of information or emotional attitudes that when you receive an answer, you feel like there's this push that I have to do something, you're probably not receiving your information from a very high place. There's always a lot of respect for our free will in the intuitive realms. So one of the most important thing I encourage in intuitive work, is to learn to ask question. Is what question can I ask? And if you're going through emotional states because something is really upsetting, that's even better. You're upset, you're afraid, you're emotional. Now your desire is driven. So from that place, the more questions you can ask, streamline what your questions are, and I'll give some example of the kind of questions we can ask, the better it is. And I will continue on with a few more videos. We'll just stop here. But these are some of the basics about awakening intuition. Oh, yes. And I always double check what I receive intuitively. So even as a naturopathic doctor, whatever information I receive, I'm going to double check with the lab tests. I'm going to double check with my books. If I get encouraged to give a certain medicine, a certain tincture, I will always double check with my literature to make sure that it fits the case. So I'm not big personally in muscle testing and all those kind of techniques, because I feel that we still need to take responsibility for what we receive by checking it with facts. And I always encourage people to, for health reasons, say if you're dealing with health issues, go to the practitioners, get the lab tests, do the treatment procedures. And the more you're asking an intuitive question, the more you're going to be drawn to the right treatment, the right medicine. By the time you're sick and needing medicine, you're already pretty disconnected emotionally, so always get the help that is provided to you, and your intuition can help you attract the right person to take you to a place where you can be so healthy and well that you can care for yourself without needing any intervention. So always get expert advice, but by always connecting to your intuition, you become more sensitive to attracting the right person. Or if you don't attract the right person, you can intuitively work with how to resolve and change why you're attracting what you're attracting. Okay, I'll stop the video here and we will continue in the next video. Thank you.